All right, welcome to Live, Lead, and In Between, a podcast for leaders who want to be better at leading in life and everywhere in between. My name is Travis Jones, and I'm the host for this podcast. And it has been a hot minute. The last podcast I put out was actually in, it was in May, and I tend to take a break in the summer. But that 2-month break actually turned into three and almost 3.5 months, just because of the nature of how my summer went. I was going to wait a little longer to actually put out a podcast to kind of give an update on some things and talk through some things. But then a bunch of stuff was happening in the news, and I thought I would get on here and actually comment about it a little bit. The young lady that was stabbed in the subway, and then now the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Those two items have really actually affected me a good bit. And when I think about those things and those people that lost their lives, it's never okay. And I think that we as a nation, as a people group, have become a little too tolerant of this kind of thing. Our leaders speak out on it and things like that, but it doesn't seem to shift. And I do want to say, though, though I believe that Charlie's assassination was politically motivated, I don't think that's the root of it. There's been a growing sense that there's a larger spiritual battle at play, and I say that because myself and a great many other church leaders have actually been picking up and sensing that, and actually beginning to teach on spiritual warfare and things like that. And before that, a lot of people would actually avoid the topic because it made them uncomfortable. Because when you begin to teach and speak and do that kind of stuff, then that makes you the target of said spiritual warfare. Not like you're already not a part of spiritual warfare, but what I want to kind of bring out today is, spiritual warfare is all around us, and like a good or a friend of mine says, we don't get saved in order to just fight all our lives, but there is a battle, right? There is a battle that's taking place, and on occasion, that spiritual battle in the unseen will erupt into the physical world, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing that eruption of the spiritual wicked things in heavenly places, and the battle that's taking place actually erupt into the physical world, and it can feel shocking at times. It's felt shocking for me. So to watch that play out, to see those things happen, and to think, I even posted, I was like, I can't believe this is reality right now, and like what we're seeing, especially just in the past couple of days, with the young lady that was murdered on the subway, and then now Charlie Kirk, and just to speak to that young lady that was murdered on the subway, it'll probably make some people mad, but there should have been some actual men. There were men in and on that transit system, and they did nothing. And so, I would lovingly call them cowards because they didn't step into their role. And I think we've become desensitized to that. They should have put that individual, or incapacitated the individual that did that very quickly. Any man in their right mind would have done that. So, but anyway, again, I think we're viewing a spiritual eruption into the physical realm, and it's hard. It sucks. So I want to lead off with that as we come back from the podcast, and but also that greater is He that is in us than he that is in the world, and specifically Charlie understood that and knew that. I watched plenty of his debates, and they were fun to watch. He never hated on anybody. He always invited them to debate, and that's what a debate is. It's not an emotional thing. It's a very practical thing. But again, spiritual eruption into the physical world. So that being said, it's kind of tough to even really do this podcast because I prayed about whether or not, because the longer you go without doing a podcast or an episode, the easier it becomes to not do one based off what's going on in your life and things like that. And so I want to get back in the game with this particular podcast and actually talk through kind of what my summer's been like and why that I believe that all the things that I started off the summer with thinking I was going to get done. Actually, I didn't get done. I'm working on a book, and I had really good plans and intentions to actually work through that book, but my summer went ridiculously crazy and not as planned. Nothing extremely negative, but just enough to keep me preoccupied with other things. And so I wasn't able to get to that. I wasn't able to even get out a lot of, I was going to put together some content, have it released starting in August, but I wasn't even able to do that just by the sheer nature of things. So, and then just experiencing some spiritual warfare myself with that. So it was very, very interesting. And if you can see the remainder of my office that I'm in right now behind me, I've got things packed up in boxes, because I've been having to do like projects around the house that needed to be done, things like that. So, but it has been a wild summer. It is what it is with that. And so all the things that I had planned, I'm still going to do. It's just taking me a little longer to get to some of those things. So, the content that I wanted to put out today, I actually put in my notes, and it seems pretty applicable for where we're at. And I need to find it here, because when I put it out, as far as an episode goes, the title was going to be "Take Joy in the Pain," because the pain lets you know you're alive. And that title actually came to me when I was running this summer. I was actually running in the middle of the afternoon. It was like the hottest point of the day. And typically, like I like doing that. I like doing that on trail runs because you're in the shade. But this day the trail was closed, so I had to do it at a park, which was a little more exposed to the direct sunlight. And as I'm running, I realize how hard the heat is hitting me and how tough it is. And like 2 miles in, I'm starting to get side stitch and stuff like that. And I'm running and I just keep going. And the thing that pops in my head is that take joy. Take joy in the pain, because the pain lets you know you're alive. Take joy in the pain, because the pain lets you know you're alive. There's this thing that athletes, runners specifically, will tell you that when you're running long distances, it's a space that I think it exists both physically and mentally with runners, and it's called the pain cave, and it's a place to where when you're there, everything hurts, and everything in you, in your brain, your mind, all the things swirling around you is telling you to stop. It's telling you to quit. It's telling you to stop doing what you're doing right now because you're going to die. And any runner worth their salt will tell you that right after you exit the pain cave, if you press through that pain cave, it's a joy, right? And so as I was running and just like pouring wet with sweat, and the heat was, it was probably 98 or 99 degrees. It was one of our hottest days. I just kept thinking, I am not going to be able to do this. I need to go ahead and stop. And as I pressed through that pain cave, as I was getting closer back to where my vehicle was, I exited that pain cave and then ran a couple more miles in that. And so how does that relate as far as us with our lives spiritually? It's always when you think you can't go any further that you're actually on the cusp of breaking through to the other side. I think life has many pain caves, and we find ourselves in them. Some people don't make it out of the pain cave. I've known several people that have not made it out of the pain cave, and have chosen to take another route in that. But the pain cave is real, and in life, that's also the place that the enemy would seek to speak to you most. The place when you're most vulnerable, the place when everything hurts, the place when you can't find space to breathe, or you can't catch your breath. The enemy's there to inform you about why you can't catch your breath and what you should do about it. And that's your most vulnerable place in life. Like I said, there's multiple pain caves that you go through in life. And, I think the nation is going through one of those right now. We're going through a pain cave, and when we exit the pain cave, there's the precipice of something greater on the other side of this, because God works all things together for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. And so I firmly believe that. But the thought of considering that moment pure joy is a hard one. Take joy, right? Like, I think it's James where he says, consider it pure joy when your faith is tested and your endurance has a chance to grow. It's really hard to really look at something very painful in a moment in your life, or in history like we're at now, where there is where you can actually feel like you can take joy in that. But I think the reason it feels hard is because we look at the moment and confuse joy with happiness. And joy is a supernatural state. Joy can exist in the middle of the worst situation. And so when it says take joy, I think that it's a supernatural thing that's happening with us. Take joy. Take joy. And in my statement that take joy because pain lets you know you're alive, I think that's a very accurate statement. The pain lets you know that you're alive. It's an indicator that you are alive. And joy in the middle of that pain, though it may seem elusive, joy is the thing that God wants us to have with that. So with that said, wherever you're at today, whatever you're experiencing or dealing with, I'm recording this on September 11th, which is already a heavy day for us in the States. But wherever you're at, take joy. Consider it joy. Take joy because the pain lets you know you're alive. And then on top of that, take joy that your faith is being grown. So with that said, this has been Live, Lead, and In Between. And I hope you lead well in everything you do. Be on the lookout for another episode coming up. I need to get my brain around another episode and how it's going to flow. And it'll probably continue to be on the subject of spiritual warfare because I think we're steeped in it right now. So until next time, lead well.